1976 was one of the truly outstanding years in popular music and in the history of the recording industry. So many legendary albums were released in that year that we could talk about them all ad infinitum. But for the sake of manageability, we've selected just 30 albums released in that year of 1976 that are marking their 50th anniversaries in this year of 2026. Now, this list is not necessarily the best albums from 1976, but a sampling of interesting recordings from that year that warrant a fresh listen half a century on. And in this episode, we're going to look at an album you've probably never heard before, but you should. Hey there, Swan Shadow here. Welcome back to the nest. Of all the talents we'll feature in this series, Be-Bop Deluxe might be the most difficult to describe. Much like Queen, here's a hint, expect them to turn up in this series eventually, Be-Bop Deluxe can't really be pigeonholed. What kind of music did they make? Well, they definitely rock, but after that, it gets a little fuzzy. Be-Bop Deluxe incorporated some progressive elements, but I wouldn't really call them a prog band. Their music abounds in pop hooks, but they're a more challenging listen than a mere pop act. There are Queen-style glam and theatrical notes in their approach, but they're not exactly a glam rock band, and they don't specifically sound like Queen. Some of their songs, especially on this album, Sunburst Finish, sound almost like new wave. But Be-Bop Deluxe preceded new wave by at least half a decade. Guitarist, lead singer, and band leader Bill Nelson could play a metal riff on occasion, but this is definitely not heavy metal. Nelson could crank out a Hendrix-style solo or three, but his approach is not primarily bluesy, and it's certainly not retro. Critics at the time usually landed on the term art rock, whatever that means, when describing Be-Bop Deluxe. But since all music is art, I'm not sure where that leaves us. All of that serves to illustrate the main reason Be-Bop Deluxe never became as big a deal as the quality of their music warranted. They were never just one thing, and the music industry had no convenient box for the amalgam of things that they were. What they were, however, is brilliant, and nowhere is that brilliance more in evidence than on this, their finest album, Sunburst Finish. And here's the thing, when I describe Be-Bop Deluxe, as I just have, it doesn't make their music sound very appealing. But that's a real shame, because Sunburst Finish is an extremely appealing album. The opening track, Fair Exchange, is a flat-out rock and roll banger with some stellar guitar work by Bill Nelson. The third song, Ships in the Night, is a charming pop tune that would be just your thing if you dig, say, Elvis Costello or the early work of Joe Jackson. Crying to the Sky is a dreamy, Beatlesque ballad with a killer guitar solo thrown in just to make sure you're paying attention. Sleep That Burns combines passages reminiscent of The Who, along with some Supertramp-style quirkiness. Life in the Air Age sounds like early period Steely Dan, if you can believe that. The album concludes with Blazing Apostles, another savvy rocker that just reaches out and grabs you by the ears. If you're a fan of intelligent but tuneful music that flirts with the limits of genre, I've mentioned Queen a few times, but other parallels might be XTC, David Bowie, even Pink Floyd in their less dark moments. Sunburst Finish, along with the rest of the Be-Bop Deluxe catalog, could be your cup of tea. Be-Bop Deluxe remains sadly underappreciated for as great as they were, but you'll discover something unique and special if you give their best album a spin. There are so many flavors and textures in this music that whatever kind of rock or pop you prefer, something on Sunburst Finish is going to catch your ear and your fancy. I do have to address the cover art because someone is sure to call me out on it. The image I've chosen to display here is actually the back cover of Sunburst Finish. The front cover is a striking photographic composition that features a fully nude female model. To keep things PG-13 here, and to keep YouTube from taking this video down, I'm using the reverse side of the sleeve. So there you go. Good look at the band though. Have you heard Sunburst Finish or any of Be-Bop Deluxe's catalog? If you're familiar with their work, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, it would really be terrific if you would please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. We're going to cover a ton of fantastic albums from 1976 in this series. Albums that are celebrating 30 years in this year of 2026. So be sure to check out our upcoming episodes so that you can relive this timeless music right along with me. Until we meet again, please be well and do well by the people you meet. And as always, I gotta know, is there gas in the car? Yes, there's gas in the car.